afternoon, BookTube. First, I want to say thank you for stopping in, and I'm really excited to babble about books with you today. Today we're going to talk about all the books I read in October, the ones I loved, the ones I didn't love, and there's just one, actually, that I didn't love, and I was really disappointed about not loving it. And that's really unfortunate because it was like super exciting when I saw it in the store, and then it wasn't good at all to me. And maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but that is okay. Anyway, thanks again for stopping in. Like I said, today we are going to talk about the books that I read in October because today is Halloween and now it's time to focus on November. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the books that I read in October. First up, I'm going to do these two together because I read them both in October, but they're part of a series. I read City of Bones and City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare. I love The Mortal Instruments, and I thought there was so much hype with it, and so I didn't really get into it. And then I picked this up last year and loved it, and then I didn't pick up the second one for whatever reason. So this year, I reread this and read this one. So now I'm caught up, so I'm not really caught up to the whole series, but I've read at least two, focusing on the third one coming up. Anyway, not important. I read these two. I loved them. My favorite character is Magnus Bane. He cracks me up. The fact that glitter is his favorite thing, and like Jace is like his sarcasm just it fits right in with my sarcasm. Cassandra Clare's writing is beautiful. I gave these 4 out of 5 stars, I think. It's just, I don't know. I think I may have given them 5 out of 5 now that I think about it. I don't know. Did I? And now I'm going to think on this like all day long. I really don't think I did, not because they weren't good, because they were. And now I'm rambling about these being good. Anyway, on to the next book. I read Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell. I really enjoyed this, but there's not much of a plot, so it doesn't really have like a big like grasp. I will say though that it has a couple of really good themes in it and points to make. And for that reason, I really enjoyed it. Like in a teenage way, like this would maybe be good for a teenager. It's not meant for an adult, which is what I am. But I loved it. I really enjoy Rainbow Rowell's writing. The artwork throughout this is gorgeous. Like I really enjoyed that. And I really also enjoyed like the main point. And even though there's not like a plot and there's not all this stuff happening really, there's still like good substance to this. So I think I gave this a 4 out of 5. I'd never read a graphic novel before, so this is the first one I've ever read, so I may be completely off, but I really enjoyed this. Next up, I read Speak by Lori, Halse Anderson. I love this book. Like, this is a reread for me. I read this years ago and reread it this October with some girls that I work with, and I really enjoyed it. It's a very touching story, and it has some humor in it, and I enjoyed that. I think I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars, or maybe even a 4 out of 5, and if it was a 4 out of 5, it was probably for the intent of, like, I wish there was a little bit more after, like, the ending. Like, I wish I would have had more after that ending. But from my understanding, the author is, like, when I read this, waiting for the perfect time to write that second book for this. And so maybe eventually we'll get a second book and we'll get to step right back in life and story beyond when it ended. The ending is what got me, I think. So yeah, it was a 4 out of 5. Next up, we have a follow-up to it, which is Shout by Lori Halse Anderson. I did not enjoy this. I gave this a 2, I think. And that is because, one, I think the writing style that was picked to write this was odd. And although it was poetry style, I didn't feel some of the poetry matched the pace. And it was very slow, and it's a memoir, so it's based off of her life. And it has some references to Speak, which is fine. So I would definitely recommend reading Speak before you read this, but it didn't have very many interesting points. And the reason you were like reading it, like, and it makes it very clear, is because it talks about her experience with sexual assault. But I feel like it had the sexual assault happen, like she talks about it, and then there's a couple more poetry stanzas based on it, and then that's it. And then, I don't know, it was just very dry. Is that the right word to use? Dry? It wasn't boring. It was just like not, like I wanted to know more about like the healing process and some of that, and I didn't feel like I got that from this, which hence the two out of 5, maybe even less. I just didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to. And next we have Pan's Labyrinth by Guillermo. Hold on, let me get this right. Guillermo del Toro and Cornelia Funk. I think I gave this a 4 out of 5 as well. This was a month of 4 out of 5s, to be honest. Because in this one, I didn't enjoy the short stories that were mixed into the story, because I felt like in order to understand the story, you had to read those. And I just didn't like that, because it got me away from the actual story going on. Like, I loved the actual, like, story. Like, the creepiness, perfect for fall. But it just didn't hit home with me. It's about a girl. Her mom marries a man after her husband at the time had died, or he had gone to war, and she's pregnant, and they go to live with what she calls, I believe, the wolf man or the evil man. I can't remember exactly. And she has these 3 things that she has to do in order to go back to the world she's actually from. And like the ending, I loved the ending. I will say that. Like the ending was phenomenal. So for that, like that pushed it to a 4 out of 5, because I was originally going to give it a 3, but the ending is what did it for me. Like I was like, oh wow. Like it got me. And so for that reason, it was a 4 out of 5. But I definitely enjoyed this. Also, this was a movie before it was a book. So that fascinated me and why I bought it anyway. And then I wanted to read it because it seemed very creepy. And it was. Like, the concept is creepy. But I definitely enjoyed it. Last on my list of books that I read this month was And the Trees Crept In by Dawn Kurtagic? Eek? I know Eek, but I don't know how to say the whole... I want to say Kurtagic. She can correct me if I'm wrong. I gave this a 5 out of 5. I loved this. This is my favorite read of the month. I, all in all, loved this. And I think, like, the concept of this was just amazing. Like, the plot twist, like, my favorite. Like, this is one of my favorite books of 2019. Even though it didn't come out in 2019, I still loved it. Basically what happens is Scylla and Nori go to live with their aunt. And their aunt tells them, hey, don't go into the woods. If you go into the woods, this is going to happen, and you won't be able to leave. And you find out, like, I won't give you anything, but then they can't leave. And essentially, it's a whole story wrapped around the trees coming into the house. And the ending, like, you have to, you either love the ending or you hate it, from what I've read, like, reviews and other things, is it's either you love it or hate it. But I was blown away. So I absolutely loved it. But definitely, I highly recommend this. This is a 5 out of 5. I love her writing. I will probably read this again, too. Like, this is probably something I'm going to start adding to my yearly, like, let's read this, because I enjoyed it that much. I will say I read it very, very slowly, just because I wanted to intake all of it. There was a lot, it's got some really cool, like, let me find it. So it has, like, journal entry type of situations going on. Some of it is written like this, and then there's a few drawings throughout. It even has some weird writing too, which sometimes I enjoy in books. I feel like it gives it character, and in this book it was perfect. Like the odd like writing in it, like writing it like separated or bigger or whatever it may be. I think it made this story just that much more interactive, and I loved that. Anyway, that is all the books I read in October. I read 7 books, I think, and then I read 7 books. One was a poetry memoir, and another one was a graphic novel, which I tried to read 2 books that weren't styles I typically read a lot of, and I really enjoyed my reading month. For the question of the video, I should call it the question of the video. I want to know what you guys read in October. What book didn't you like, and what book did you love? And that is all I have for you guys today. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!